U.S. housing market collapse? Nowhere in sight. Hey folks, welcome to Dre's Take. So this is going to be by far one of the most important videos I've made in this series. Just yesterday, Steve Nicholas with Newsleader released this article, and it's got some incredible points in it. Check this out, guys. Steve's headline says, U.S. housing market collapse? Nowhere in sight. He goes on to say, the housing market has taken a few hits such as doubling mortgage rates in 2022, but remains solid even if legitimate news providers suggest doom and gloom. These news outlets are so caught up in what I call, excuse my language here, but doom porn, where they, it's so sensational to put out these clickbait headlines and they sell fear constantly, even if the true underlying fundamentals don't suggest or paint the same picture that they would have you believe. And that's what Steve goes on to say here. He says, sensational news headlines are reverberating like seismic tremors around the country. Here are some of the recent inflammatory headlines from legitimate news websites. U.S. home prices are about to tumble as demand for new houses crater, Business Insider. Homebuilder confidence suffers near record plunge, Newsweek. Scary times, builders are slashing home prices and slowing construction as buyers pull back, Market Watch. Steve goes on to say, gloomy reports like these can be enough to make builders halt building or to prompt home buyers to delay buying or to discourage mortgage brokers from lending. In an unintentional collaboration, depressing news can have a chilling effect on the housing market as they create a negative tone. And that's exactly what's been going on here, guys. That's exactly what's been going on. The sensational news headlines and clickbait headlines of gloom and doom in the housing market have created this lull where you've got buyers who aren't sure. They don't know what's going on because all they see is the headlines. They don't know the fundamentals of the market. They don't know the statistics. They don't know what's actually going on. And so it's easy to just take a headline from what you perceive as a credible news source and run with it. And unfortunately, the truth here is they're yanking your chain. The fundamentals just don't suggest what they're telling you. Now they've unintentionally created this lull or temporary pullback in home buyer demand. Eventually they're going to run out of news headlines of gloom and doom. It's going to be new news to report something positive, and then they'll reverse course on their messaging. And when they do, the buyer sentiment will change and shift right on cue, and it'll be business as usual. If you've got questions and you want to know the key metrics in your area and what forces are at play that are going to either play to the downside or the upside in your market. And let's face it, real estate is hyper local. You really can't talk about real estate in any real sense on a macro scale. We can try, but the truth of the matter is what's going on in one part of the country isn't necessarily what's going on in another. And for that matter, even from county to county, city to city, subdivision to subdivision, it can vary dramatically as far as absorption rates, the list to sales price ratio, the days on market. It's very hyper local. And that's why it's so important to have somebody like Andre Berry on your team. If you have questions about your specific home or your specific property or your concern, you can call me anytime. Be happy to run an analysis for you and tell you all those key metrics so that you have a much better understanding of what's going on in your particular neck of the woods and whether or not it's time to sell, take your equity off the table, or whether maybe it's more beneficial to just sit tight for a while and continue watching your appreciation or your rental returns grow, whatever the case may be. I'm always here to help either way. Feel free to give me a call. Andre Berry, Home Expo Realty. All right, y'all, take care.